Thank you for having me.
Yeah, long day for you. Let's just start off from that conference, and we understand the technical sessions should continue, but what aspects will you and your team be focusing on in this session? What's the Nigerian standpoint? Let's put it like that.
Well, for us in Nigeria, we've identified the need for intermodal transportation systems for cargo evacuation to the hinterland. We believe that in order to have seamless movement of cargo, there's a need for this intermodalism, which cuts across the rail solutions, which cuts across utilization of inland waterways. So as we are right now, we've already started making inroads. We have defined methods with which we will deploy evacuation of cargo using barges, for instance, which is the inland waterways. We've also, through the Ministry of Transportation, embarked on a very aggressive pursuit of rail connection to the hinterland. As Mr. President had said, the policy of the government is now to ensure all ports are connected using the rail, and also to ensure that indeed our waterways are being utilized. The Nigerian Inland Waterways Authority has been mandated to proceed with dredging works across the inland waters to facilitate such cargo evacuation. So these are portions of the aspects of discussions we're going to have. We're also looking to see how we can fund this intermodalism. There's challenging around fully providing funding without utilizing private sector financing. So some of the deliberations we had today is also to define methods with which we as a continent, we can have access to financing for such intermodal transportation system that would address our connection to the hinterland for inflow and outflow of cargo into our ports.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at what we're going to do, across the continent. But looking at what our challenges are now, are you addressing our current unique situation? Let's take a look at Lagos, for instance. Many laymen will get a sense of how dire things are at the ports. When you look at the stretch of tankers spilling onto our bridges, onto our roads, several kilometers from the ports. So what sort of solutions are you looking at to address congestion and issues like that in the present rather than going forward?
Yeah, in the short term, we're looking at utilization of barges for evacuation of cargo, for example, from Apapa to Ikorodu. We're also looking at evacuation of cargo within that axis beyond Ikorodu. We believe that there's a need to utilize the rail connection that now exists as we seek to have enhanced provision of wagons, enhanced provision of wagons from Nigerian Railway Corporation to evacuate the cargo. We've also noted the need to have trailer parks that would house some of these trucks that are permanently on the road. What we've seen is some of these trucks are just on the road looking for a job. They're not really there to pick up or deliver any cargo. So we're working with Lagos State and now Ogun State government to see how we can have licensed trailer parks for access to the ports.
Do you have a timeline?
We've also noted the fact that this challenge that we have in Apapa area will not be replicated in the Lekki axis. So we're planning ahead to ensure that such congestion does not happen in any of our port locations in the future. So we've mandated rail connection to the Lekki axis. We've also sought to have federal government do a bypass from the Lekki axis onto Shagamu, and also Lagos State government is working to facilitate some of that cargo evacuation. It's important for us to also look at the deployment of liquid bulk. If you see within the Apapa area, there are quite a number of tank farms in that location. So we call on to DPR and regulatory authorities in the petroleum sector to facilitate the evacuation of liquid bulk using the pipelines, because that would also go a long way in addressing the congestion we see with liquid bulk.
Sorry to have to interrupt you, but do you have a timeline for some of these short-term plans that you're talking about? Because there are so many plans
using the inland.
Yes, my question to you is
containers that are being moved from Apapa to Ikorodu, so that is ongoing. The discussion on Lekki Deep Sea Port and the Lekki axis in terms of Dangote Refinery and Dangote Petroleum for evacuation of cargo in that area is also ongoing. The trailer parks, we're also licensing them within 0 to 3 months with partnership with Lagos State government. So some of these things are ongoing right now, and some of them are 0 to 3 months, which I would call them in the short term, and we also have 0 to 6 months, which are areas where we would see expansion of wagons using the rail connection to the ports.
Okay, just coming back to what you're talking about, I hear what you say about in a couple of months. Coming back to what you're talking about in terms of the benefits of the conference that you're having right now, beyond congestions, we know we have issues of security concerns in other ports, draft issues where you have maybe heavy-duty ships not being able to come through. So I think my point is that when you look at the different ports across the country, you have unique challenges in each one of them. Is there anything being done in the short term to reduce some of the challenges that we have, around?
No, absolutely. For example, if you look at the Warri Port, we've recently gotten an approval to dredge Warri Port to 7.5 meters. This will go a long way in addressing the limitation of draft in Warri Port, and the instances of vessels being grounded will be eliminated in Warri area, and that is an area where you have a lot of importation of petroleum products. We also have, for example, the Calabar Port, where we've had limited draft in that area. We had in the last few months vessels that are flat bottom. So you have vessels that are flat bottom coming into our ports, which indicates that some of these dredging works, we don't really need to invest that quantum of resources. If the Nigerian maritime sector can attract such flat bottom vessels that will come into those ports that have limited draft in terms of provision for those vessels. So these are some of the initiatives we're doing to ensure that all ports across the country are having maximum utilization, ensuring that all ports in the eastern parts, which are the Warri, Delta, Calabar, Onne ports, have the seamless customers and seamless competitiveness as every other port location in the country.
All right. Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, Hadiza Bala Usman, thanks a lot for joining us on the News at 10 tonight.